We got our friend Mr. John Morosi joining us. John, first I want to say, great job, all the coverage, always fantastic. The buzz for the Dodgers now is shifted to Teoscar Hernandez. You signed Michael Conforto yesterday. First question I have is, does that complicate things at all with the potential of re-signing Teoscar?
It's a great question, Doug. I don't think so. Certainly they play a similar position. They're both, you would say, corner outfielders, and we'll see what it means for Andy Pache and his role. But I would say that the door is still very open for Teoscar Hernandez to return to the Los Angeles Dodgers. There's the need there. We know how well he fits with that clubhouse. They just won the World Series. I know that Teoscar, I'm sure, would love to go back. You could just see throughout October how well he fit with that group. And if he were to not return, Doug, there'd be a tremendous void there, both in the clubhouse and on the field, to where you wonder what impact his absence would have on a lot of those key hitters in the first half of the Dodger lineup.
And we've seen the team that he had a lot of success against in the regular season and the World Series, the Yankees. They missed out on Juan Soto. Do you see the Yankees as the biggest threat to sign Teoscar now, the Red Sox, or any other teams involved other than those two as potential teams that sign him that aren't the Dodgers?
Boston. I think Boston is the tougher threat for the Dodgers to deal with right now, because he's hit so well at Fenway. Anecdotally, you hear that he's loved playing there in the past and would be a really dynamic player at Fenway. With that wall, I think he would be a tremendous player on both sides of the ball for the Boston Red Sox, who are now looking to make a big impact after missing on Juan Soto. So I think I was actually talking to an agent earlier today who said you might see the free agents at the top part of the market, Santander, Teoscar, Burns, Fried on the pitching side, all getting an extra year, just because there is now this latent appetite to spend among some of the top teams that I would say are really interested in now potentially adding a player of his caliber. And so the Boston Red Sox, to me, are the top of that list.
Yeah, it feels like we've seen all these players sign for over their projection, so wouldn't be surprised to see that. Now, as far as the pitching, the Dodgers go out there, they get Blake Snell, they get an ace. One of the big free agents that Dodgers fans want to see back is Walker Buehler. He's the hero. He's the guy you think of, maybe that final out. What do you hear about Walker Buehler's market right now, and where the Dodgers stand with Buehler?
I would say it's less than 50% likelihood that he becomes a Dodger again, just because there is interest in Walker around the industry. A team like the Cubs, I've heard mentioned. The Yankees, ironically enough, could be an option for him as well. The Braves are looking for starting pitching help too. So there's enough teams you think about his roots on the East Coast or Kentucky and going to Vandy, that maybe in that general area close to there is the Vandy connection to the Cubs with the front office and Carter Hawkins, who's their GM, being a Vandy guy. So I think there's that connection there. The Braves close to home for him, relatively speaking. And then I've heard there's been mutual interest with the Yankees to where he's wanted that experience of playing in New York and being on the big stage. So the Yankees, maybe some questions about Stroman's spot in the rotation, especially after a year in which he was not an element of their postseason plans. What does Cortez's situation look like health-wise going forward? So there, to me, is a need for the Yankees to get one more starting pitcher, and I'm told that Walker is intrigued to the possibility of being a Yankee.
If you can't beat him, sign him, right? I mean, that would be the mindset there. Now, you're the gold standard when it comes to international baseball, and the Dodgers already have two of the best Japanese players on the planet. They kick their season off next year in Tokyo. Right now, of course, the buzz about Roki Sasaki. We've heard that the Dodgers and the Padres are the two teams that are the favorites to sign him. Do you still believe that's the case? And what is it about the Dodgers and Sasaki that makes them one of the favorites?
Dodgers, Padres, I could say the Yankees as well might be in the mix, and other larger market teams that could present to Roki an option for him to develop well and then eventually hit that major free agent contract like Shohei. Remember, this is going to be a deal in the $3 to $4 to $5 million range on a minor league contract because of the nature of MLB's CBA. So this is less about the money than it is about the fit. Yes, of course, the Dodgers, they're the reigning World Series champions. They've got two great Japanese pitchers now. There's going to be that natural fit in conversation with LA. But I would say the Padres are really have a big seat at the table too, because Sasaki's big connection is to Yu Darvish. He is his idol. There's in Japanese culture, it's called the Kohai Senpai relationship, the senior member to the more junior member, and the relationship that they've got. So I would say that for that reason, the Padres are at least as strong of a candidate to sign Roki as the Dodgers are, and we'll now find out in the next month or so. We're still a ways away from learning this, because there's that period of time where there's the overlap of the posting period and the international signing period. That comes between January 15th and 23rd. We're a long way away in the offseason. That's like an eternity, Doug, between now and then. So,
in 2025.
Right, there's going to be conversations, and now that he's has been posted, they can have the talk. But I think we're going to have to wait for another month or so before we really know where Roki Sasaki is headed.
And with Roki, we know where the Dodgers are going to be at in the next class, towards the bottom with the Giants as far as the international bonus pool money. Is it going to be about the money for Roki? Is it going to be about the fit and what that team can do for him?
Much more the secondary piece, Doug. I think it is the fit. It's similar to what Shohei saw with the Angels when he signed there. It was a place that spoke to him. He felt very comfortable that he could develop into being the player that he wanted to be, and it was a great relationship for those 6 years. And I think that's what Roki is looking for. Where is chapter 1 of his MLB story? Not necessarily the end, but the first chapter. And I think that's where teams that have done a good job of developing young pitching, I look at a team like Seattle. You might say that they're on the periphery, and they probably are, but if you're a young pitcher, why wouldn't you want to go there? Because of how well they've done to develop young pitching throughout the recent history of the organization. So I think that's something to watch carefully, is which team can put together a really good sales pitch to Roki and say, you can write your own legacy here. Yeah, certainly joining the legacy of Shohei and Yoshi would be great, but it's hard to know what speaks most to Roki, either joining the Dodgers and what they've already built, or building something else in a place like Seattle or San Diego or San Francisco. And I think that's the question that only Roki Sasaki himself can answer.
Absolutely. And last player I want to ask you about is, I know this might not seem like a big-time mega Juan Soto type signing, but for Dodgers fans, this guy's huge. Kike Hernandez. He's a fan favorite. He's beloved. You hear anything about Kike Hernandez's market right now? And do you think ultimately he returns to the Dodgers? He was so massive. It's a clubhouse fit, clutch in the postseason. What are you hearing about Kike Hernandez, John?
That's a great question, Doug, because I haven't heard a ton in the last 24 hours about where he might land. I think part of that with the Dodgers, too, is they still have Chris Taylor. They just extended Edman. They still have Gavin Lux. I would say if they trade Lux, it creates a clearer path for at-bats for Kike on the team at the moment. So that to me is a good fit. I still think it's a really good fit for Kike with the Dodgers, because you could tell how much the fans love him and vice versa. But I think that we have to wait and see a few things to play out first with the Dodgers' plans before saying that Kike has a clear path there. There's probably other teams, honestly, Doug, that have a greater need for him right now. The question, though, is would he actually want to go and sign somewhere else as long as the Dodger possibility is there? I would say this, that for Kike, it probably makes sense to wait and see if they do trade Lux, because that could then create more of an option. Mookie's plans are certainly an element, too, of what Kike's plans could look like. So I would say still a very highly valued player, October performer, beloved in LA, but I think right now the Dodgers, they probably have their attention focused right now on Teoscar and maybe to some extent Roki Sasaki and getting that process going.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up Mookie and going to the infield and Gavin Lux. You think that's something they're seriously mulling over as far as the plans for Gavin Lux and potentially including him in a deal?
Yeah, I do. I think that you have to find a way to make it work and think through what your options are. The one thing we know about the Dodgers, Doug, is they love depth and they find ways to have players come in because they just want to be part of it. Who wouldn't want to be part of the Dodgers right now? And I think that speaks to free agents, that those that are already there. Edman's extension is a piece of that. I do think that having Edman locked up long term may change at least a multi-year interest level in Kike. I think they would always want him back at some price, but thinking about roster spots going forward and keeping some flexibility, the Dodgers are about depth and flexibility, and the longer term your contract becomes, the less it becomes about flexibility.
This time is extremely valuable. We appreciate every second, every minute that we get from you. Dodgers Nation loves you. We really appreciate all your insight, your expertise. Sean, thank you so much. Happy holidays, and appreciate joining us here on Dodgers Dugout Live, my man.
Doug, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.